And we're live. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 3cast for April 13th, 2018. I'm your host, Matthew Weber. I'm joined by Mr. Vincent Hoy
Hey, what's up?
and Ricky Williams. We're all three here today.
What's up?
No video because we're all on weird internet.
We're all four.
I think I'm actually the only one that's actually plugged into an Ethernet cable, and I probably still have the crappiest internet because I'm in the middle of, bumfuck Egypt.
And don't mind that little giggling, that awkward giggling, because that's just my kid. Yeah, I get it. He wants to be heard. He's got issues of attention. I don't know. He wants attention.
Nah, he's just laughing at us because we're all noobs.
So this is the 3cast where we review movies, TV shows, every once in a while a comic book. This time we are reviewing a movie from 2008. It's called Vantage Point. It stars Dennis Quaid, Forrest Whitaker, Willaim Hurt, and I think those are the big names, right?
Zoe Saldana,
Sigourney
Weaver.
Did you
Oh,
say
yep.
Weaver?
Yep. Forget those they're in there sometimes. All right. So first of all, this isn't a very good movie.
Really?
Don't be so sarcastic, Vince.
Look, I wasn't being sarcastic. I think there are some good points about it. Like, despite how I am critical about these things, I do want to comment that I thought it was going to be a bad movie. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's derivative, but I can kind of it's thought provoking for the times.
Yeah. All right. So basically, the movie surrounds a single event, right? And it's shown from several different vantage points. That's the name of the movie. Basically, it's about a terrorist attack during an explosion in Spain. And it shows, like I said, shows different vantage points. So one from the news, one from the president, one from a Secret Service agent, and a couple other, one from the terrorist point of view, I guess.
And a tourist.
Yeah, and the Forrest Whitaker character. So basically, it shows how the idea of or the event changes based on what perspective it is, which is not the first time it was done, but I think that this, of the ones that I've seen, this is probably the best one that I've seen that is done this way. So really what intrigued me most about this film is how they shot it, right? It's very interesting cinematography. It's not fantastic. It's never going to blow you out of the water in terms of storyline, right? I mean, it's very mediocre in terms of storyline. But I think the way that it's shot and the concept of viewing a story from different points of view is very interesting. So, Vince, why don't you tell us what you thought of it?
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that old, but yeah, spoiler alert, there's a lot of betrayal and deceit and stuff and cover up things. So we're gonna be talking about a couple of those things for those of you guys that might not have seen it. We're gonna be dropping essentially the plot and the closure. But listen, it's not a new thing. Whether it's the Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon thing, which is the seminal basis for the multiple perspectives kind of cinema approach, to even the Simpsons. Remember the shot Montgomery Burns kind of season finale that way back? Matt, do you even remember that? Were you alive yet?
Yes, I was alive then.
I don't know, man,
the Simpsons isn't quite as old as I am, but almost. Thank you, Vince, for calling me a young person.
I remember when when again, another spoiler alert, when the season cliffhanger for Simpsons was who shot Montgomery Burns, because everyone had something axe to grind, and it turns out that the way they cut it was everyone could have been a suspect, but at the end of the day it was Maggie Simpson, right? So I mean, in this one, it's not it's an innocent baby that kills the president. Obviously, it's a little bit more convoluted, but I think that a couple of things were notable. As Matt said, the storyline isn't that great, but if you think about just the actual execution of it, that's where you start going, wait. So you see, version number 1 or 2, and the vantage point could be easily done by a director and his team, taking the film and just shooting it right there, right? But then when you start seeing the subsequent different perspectives, you can't help but go, man, can you imagine being like an extra or an actor and having to do the same thing like 20 times at different vantage points, and also being the director and having to put a camera in different places to make sure that the exact same things kind of have to happen, and then to also make sure that the people have to be in the right same place. I thought that was a pretty good feat, and I'm pretty good about making sure, like, whether or not a guy's wearing a watch on his left hand versus wearing it on his right hand from one scene to another, because we know that the kind of the reality behind the magic of filmmaking, but you just got to admit that like there's some kind of incredible coordination that's happening to make sure that there's no discontinuity from scene to scene. I think that if anything, this movie has shown me that you could be a terrorist and kill like I don't know how many innumerable amounts of incredibly wise and invaluable people in society, but then my God, you can't kill a little girl on the street by drive by and accidentally shooting her, and like the whole entire terrorist plot just falls apart simply because the guy doesn't want to plow over like what, a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah, it was just a little girl that runs through the which, if you think about it, I mean, here's the question about that. So that little girl was in the crowd, right? And then they went through this, the foot chase and the car chase. I mean, it has to be miles and miles away, and it's the same little girl that runs out in front of the.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where the story just kind of goes. Really, man? Like either the terrorists just kind of went in like loops and circles around the same square, or like that kid is like Usain Bolt or something, man.
Yeah, like that little kid got really far along, really fast, and
it's a Flash.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly.
Reverse Flash.
But then the other thing was like, again, there's so many cliches that were problematic. Like, I mean, like for all the stuff that I'm saying that they did well, like the kind of continuity issue, like you can't help but you can't ignore the fact like when Dennis Quaid is like plowing through like the city driving his was it a Nissan or like a Pinto or whatever the hell car was, right?
Yeah, it's some really small car. Yeah,
that car is it's like a go-kart. I was like, when it goes down the stairs in Spain, like I've been to Spain, man, and like it was going up and down. So I was like, that is just killing that car. The car's just gonna, like, at some point I was going, the car's just gonna die, right?
It survives like a head-on collision with a garbage truck or something like that, and then Dennis Quaid shakes himself off and hits drive again, just continues on.
Yeah, so there's some weird like miracle of magic movie happening, right? But the thing that I really wanted to get at was, I think they tried to do something that back in the day was something that was groundbreaking, and unfortunately, like looking at it now, it falls apart. And that's basically killing the dames. I'm not sure if you guys remember back in the day, guys. Did you ever remember? Did you guys ever remember, guys? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Vince.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I wasn't sure. But like, you remember in like the Scream movies when you'd have like Drew Barrymore as like the star, and then she dies in the first 10 minutes?
Yeah.
So I found that was really surprising. It was like a big kind of gimmick thing, but in this movie, I expected two things. A, Zoe Saldana, because I know her as like the Guardian of the Galaxy girl, right? So I expected her to like last a little bit longer, and I was like, whoa, wait, they just killed her, and I realized, wait, this is before her foray in Star Trek.
She's really known.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wow, she's like totally disposable, right? And then when you have like Sigourney Weaver, who has like a bit part, and you have honestly, I thought when they had Fox, the guy from Lost, I thought they were going to use him. I thought he's going to be a hero, and maybe that was kind of counter casting where they kind of put him in, but I didn't expect that really to happen. Given that back then, like 10 years ago, Lost was still on, right? And I think that was like his heyday. And I was like, man, what happened to this guy? Like, I kept going, man, Zoe Saldana gets killed off in the first like 10 minutes, and she's like superstar now, and like what's gonna probably be the biggest movie of the year, right? The new Avengers movie. And then you got this guy that used to be on I don't know, J.J. Abrams' Lost show, and I'm like, where is that guy now, man? So it's interesting to see like 10 years out what goes on. And the last thing about the whole movie was like, man, does Forrest Whitaker, like, Ricky, maybe you can tell me, but Forrest Whitaker is like Samuel L. Jackson in that he plays the conventional black guy. Like, if Samuel Jackson plays the angry black guy, Forrest Whitaker always plays the nice black guy, and Morgan Freeman always plays the grandfatherly black guy, if not God.
Yeah.
And Forrest Whitaker, He plays.
Yeah.
I swear to God, he's ageless. Like kind of like Samuel Jackson's like 70 years old, right? And he looks
Yeah, he
like
is.
age. Forrest Whitaker, I realized he is really, really old because I remember him like in like the Crying Game and stuff, and I was like, my
Yeah.
God, how old is this movie? This dude is old, and he's
Yeah.
still like he ran and picked up a kid off the road, and I was like, this guy is like again young and mobile, but I can't help but think this guy was like 50 when he made this movie.
Actually, he's not as old as you think he is. He's only 56.
Okay, sorry, he's only 56. So wait, was he like a teenager in the Crying Game? Like that's weird, man.
He was born in 61, so whenever.
Wow, but then if you compare him to like Samuel Jackson, you know what I'm talking about, right, Rick? Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
these guys get old, and like what? Morgan Freeman's like 100.
he's pretty old. Yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I just want to say, Matt, it wasn't as bad a movie as I thought it was going to be. It's derivative. It's very strongly tied to like the Rashomon kind of multi-perspective thing, but at the end of the day, I mean, like American cinema, the closest we ever got to that was like Pulp Fiction, like 10 years prior to that, in the 90s, right? Where it was like this continued timeline, multiple perspectives. So it's refreshing to see it, but unfortunately, it never made a splash. And I think that it's best kept in a lot of TV shows nowadays.
Yeah. All right, Ricky, what did you think of this movie?
Yeah. Okay, so I really like Forrest Whitaker as an actor. I like most of the shows that he's been in. He plays like really thoughtful roles where he can play different aspects. So the movie overall I thought was a pretty good one. I mean, like I've said before on tons of shows, I'm a bit different from you guys. When I look at a movie, yeah, I know, there's things that you can see that's just not really right. I kind of ignore that stuff because I mean, if you notice all that, it's gonna kind of take away from it, right?
You have to ignore that if you're a fan of Fast and the Furious. I mean, you really have to. I mean, guy jumping out of a plane into a tank or whatever the hell it is. I mean,
I kind of ignore that kind of stuff. So I think the movie's like really interesting because it shows you that if you take different people based on their occupation, their training, how attentive they are, they're gonna see different things. So whereby this is showing you each vantage point, and each vantage point gives you a little bit more to the story, so that you're taking all of it, you as the viewer looking in, you take it all, put it together in order to get the complete story overall. And then in the end, like everyone said, the little girl runs out into the road, and the real president is in the back of the ambulance. The guy swears, the ambulance turns over, and that's how they find him. Because when they question the guy who had kidnapped him, the guy died. So if that hadn't happened, they wouldn't have found him, period. Right? And so that is actually the whole answer to the question, right? Because the whole thing revolves around the plot to assassinate him. And then when, it's a body double that gets killed, then they kidnap him, right? And so you see the whole story based on each of these vantage points, right? So I think that's very interesting. Like Vince was referring to the other film, the Rashomon. I've never seen that one to compare to. I know that critics, didn't look at this one favorably based on the other one. But for me, I liked it. I liked the whole idea of it, the way it was done. Like Vince said, it's really hard when you're looking at the same exact um, events just from different perspectives. I know, other movies that have, newer movies that have done the same kind of thing, but not with seven. They may go with two or three points of view. But yeah, I thought it was, overall it was a really good thing.
Well, actually, you know what? One thing that maybe Matt, because you recommend a movie, maybe you can help me out here, because I found that the storyline and the motivation had problems because like they went to the kind of level of detail to explain why the Hispanic or sorry, not the Mexican, the Spanish guys were like, the guy had his brother in captivity and stuff. But it never dawned on me, why was Matthew Fox's character working for the terrorists?
I don't think they
Who's
ever
that?
explain that.
That's
But he does.
the other security dude, right?
Yeah, the guy that's the other CIA, the Secret Service guy. Why was he
Yeah,
the terrorists? Why did he join the terrorists?
yeah. I don't think I can remember them.
I don't. They don't say that in the movie, although they do say he apparently is a believer in the cause because he talks and he says something about you. From what I recall, he says something about like you'll never defeat us or something like that towards the end.
Yeah, but
So
I mean, it's just like I wish there was a little bit of a clarity because they give all the backstories about people you don't really care about. But like when there's a betrayal of a Secret Service officer, and I think at some point the director was trying to make a decision to impart, just make the audience feel as though, well, Dennis Quaid is this kind of like maybe like not psychotic, but kind of off his game because he's like just recovering from taking a bullet, and the insinuations that maybe he's a little bit more cynical or something. But like it never made sense when like you got such a big name guy like Matt Fox at that point in time to do his betrayal. You would have thought that there would have been a little more elaboration on what his motivation was, right?
Probably
yeah,
just money.
Well,
That's always about money with those guys.
it probably is, but you're right, Vince. They don't flesh. That's one of the I think that's probably the biggest problem with this type of thing is that because you have to show the same event so many different times from so many different perspectives, it doesn't allow you to the time you would get in a normal size movie where it's all just one linear plot line for the event to go through and flesh out every single character that actually matters to the plot.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you get the whole like they got my brother, so but that was so overt and it was so clear, and you can go, okay, fine, that they got the brother, so that's why they got to do this. They antagonize the Americans, right? But in this,
right.
Yeah,
they miss with this one, and they also have the time to show at least hints at some kind of weird romance between the Spanish cop and the woman terrorist or whatever. So there's some kind of weird sexual byplay between those two, and they have times to show that, but they didn't show for that. It is odd that they skipped that one.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know why they would have done that. Maybe it's because that you said, like you said at the time, that guy was really popular in Lost. Maybe they didn't want to, I don't know, confuse his character with Lost or something. I don't know.
but that's been the biggest like payoff, because then you paid for the guy, and I think the audience is
but I think what I think, like you said, if he's in Lost and he's loved, right? They wanted him to be a character that surprises when you find out that he's actually in the terrorist plot, but they don't want to go all the way, right? Because it's just like, for instance, if you look at an actor like Brad Pitt, right, or Leonardo DiCaprio, like those guys are known. So if you put them in a movie and then you flip them and they're the bad guys, you know what I mean? People don't believe it, number one, but also it kind of runs against them, their future,
well. No, but that's the thing. You should like you would be able to watch. Like, remember with I'm glad you're talking about like the Brad Pitts and all of that. Like, remember in what was it, James Bond movie with Daniel Craig where it also had Javier Bardem, and Javier Bardem.
Oh yeah.
And the thing was, you knew that this guy was probably going to be a bad guy, but then when he explains himself and he's like, I was treated the same way as you, but I was like the 00 program just booted me out and they treated me like crap. Then you kind of empathize. In this movie, like, it's fine to have Matt Fox as a general good guy betray, right? Because as long as they're able to explain the story so that the audience goes, yeah, I understand, because, this guy's a really good guy, but, he did something or something spurred him to do this, right?
Yeah.
It's very J.J. Abrams level. Like, I mean, maybe it's just because he came from Lost. It's an excuse to say you don't need to have an explanation or a backstory. It just looks cool.
Yeah.
But that's like the typical thing that we do right now, where J.J. Abrams just does stuff, and it's like, someone's going to figure out the storyline later, or it'll come together. And at the end of the day, it's a hot mess, which has like no conclusion, just like Lost, just like Alias, just like anything else J.J. Abrams touch.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so like I said, I like the way the movie was shot. I was not impressed overall with the storyline, just because it seemed like for many years between like the terrorist attacks of 2001 and like uh 2010 or 2012, terrorist movies were like a dime a dozen. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio did one. You know, there were several. They just like 2 or 3 times a year. It was like between those years, those were the superhero movies of now, where it was you want an action movie, throw in some terrorists. So I mean, what I wasn't that impressed with the storyline, just because it wasn't, as Vince says, it was very very derivative. Just a comment on the actors. You guys seem to like Forrest Whitaker. I've never been a Forrest Whitaker fan.
No?
There's just something the way he talks that bothers me. So he's not always a good guy. So there's a movie called it has Keanu Reeves and God, like the guy who played House.
The guy played House. Yeah.
Anyways,
we know
he plays a corrupt cop, right? But he's so soft spoken in that movie. He doesn't play a very good corrupt cop, because you see a good corrupt cop, he's a big tough guy. And this guy's Forrest Whitaker's just kind of like a soft. He's actually very in Vantage Point. He actually plays like the he's the nice tourist, so he does the role well. The fact that this big guy can run all the way through the streets of a city in Spain and keep up with these young guys is kind of hilarious. But it's really interesting though. Is like this was shot kind of before the days of cell phones. Where like
a camcorder, like
So what's interesting is it was kind of like foreshadowing that. Like today, if something goes on, I mean, everybody pulls out their. I mean, somebody gets shot right in front of you. You're not going to go help the guy. You're going to pull your cell phone out and record it. That's just the way today are. This was Forrest Whitaker's job in this movie, was to record one of the vantage points, right? So he was the guy with the cell phone, only it was like a camcorder. Which do they even still make camcorders?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, that was such. I'm not a big fan of Forrest Whitaker. But alternatively, I love Willaim Hurt. I like every movie that I've ever seen Willaim Hurt in. He's kind of one of those guys who can play a villain no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's one called I'm having a problem with names today, but there's a movie he's in that has Viggo Mortensen, and he plays like a mobster. Anyways, he's really good in that. He's also in Mr. Brooks, which is fantastic. He's a fantastic villain in that. Anyways, so he didn't play a villain in this one, but he was still pretty good. I mean, he didn't really have a very big role. I mean, he had like
girl fairly sound in that ambulance.
Yeah, he had like 6 lines in the whole movie. But
I mean, the one thing that is a little bit of and I don't know, maybe you know better than I do because you know your Cold War and American history, but Matt, the whole body double thing, I thought that was just like a cliche thing, like that they use in movies. Like that doesn't really happen, does it?
All right, so we don't know for sure, but there's a lot of speculation that like sultans and
the Middle East,
like a lot of like Middle Eastern and Asian people have like leaders of state had doubles during this time period. And there was a stupid rumor that Nixon had a body double, but I'm not sure if that. I mean, as far as I know, that's just the internet, being the internet. So, but the question is, I mean, if they did it well enough, how would you know? But the question is, during the time period where there was like the rumors floating around that these leaders of state had bodies doubles, would they really have the technology and medical know-how to do that? I mean, today, sure, they probably could do it, but in like the 60s and 70s, I'm not so sure.
I don't know. With a little makeup, you also got to remember the 60s and 70s also at that time. Like, we're looking at 60s and 70s, and we're more advanced, but 60s and 70s, the camcorders and the cameras of that time wouldn't be taking stuff at like 4K resolution.
Yeah, like look at that assassin,
so
Kennedy assassin. There's a Bruder tape, man. It's fuzzy. It's like 400 by 300 video or something.
Yeah.
So it might be that the person's far enough away, and that they just throw some some makeup on them, and it's good enough to fool most people.
Yeah. Here's a question for you guys, just before we wrap this up. Dennis Quaid is like a washed-up actor now, right?
That's only because who was he used to married to? His wife. He was married to someone that was also an actress that was actually decent. And when they broke up, because they were supposed to be like a couple that was like together for like 30 years.
Oh yeah, I know. I heard about that. It was like some insaneness. Yeah, one day.
Oh, it was the girl that's in all the Tom Hanks movies. Meg Ryan, right?
Meg Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, so they broke up, and Meg Ryan, like kind of like Antonio Banderas. You got an old good actor and married to a decent woman, and then the woman just splits, and she just gets tons of plastic surgery, looks weird, and then like both their careers kind of go down the tubes. So I think the same thing happened with Meg Ryan, and like remember she used to be like the '90s it girl, like everything from Sleepless in Seattle to all these other Tom Hanks movies. But yeah, like poor Dennis Quaid, man. He's actually a good guy. Like I think he actually is now making a career out of playing washed up dudes. Like I saw a movie where he played the washed up police chief, and then another one where he played the washed up baseball pitcher or something.
Oh yeah.
The reason why I asked is because I haven't seen him in like a top blockbuster movie in ages. I mean, the movies that I know of in the last decade that he's been in for sure that I've seen are The Day After Tomorrow and this movie here, Vantage Point. Those are the only two that I know he's been in. I know he's been in a few other ones, but
poor man's Harrison Ford.
Yeah, but he's. The problem is Harrison Ford went downhill because he got old, right?
I mean, they're not that far apart in age, I don't think, man. I honestly don't think so.
Oh, I think so.
10 years, maybe?
54. Let's see. Dennis Quaid was born 54, and it's 8 years. Yeah, so not too far.
Yeah, so I mean, but Harrison Ford looks really old. I mean, Dennis Quaid is not looking that bad for.
No. He just hasn't been in any good movies. It's really weird because I mean, he used to be like the actor who was in a lot of good movies, but he's just not anymore. It's sad to see some of these actors. I mean, like the same thing with Denzel Washington. He's kind of gone down.
No, dude, you would be happy to know they're making the Equalizer 2 or whatever. Not the Man on Fire, but the one where he goes to works at Home Depot and makes like death traps with Home Depot stuff.
Oh yeah.
They're making a sequel to that terrible movie.
Yeah.
Oh God, we reviewed that. Didn't we?
Come on, hey Rick, you want to watch that, don't you? Come on, man. Anytime you can watch Denzel just kill people, it's always good, man.
Wait, Harrison Ford's married Callista Flockhart?
Yeah, for like a decade or so.
Yeah.
Long time.
8 years, wow.
Yeah.
Isn't she like the Ally McBeal woman?
Yeah, but she yes.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I thought she was like really young, but she's not. She's like 53. All right. Totally nothing. So let's go around real quick and give our scores. I would give this probably a 2.5 out of 5.
2 out of 5 on my side.
Rick?
Yeah, I'd go with a 4 out of 5.
Oh, wow. Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd watch it again.
Oh, I'll watch it again, too. I watch terrible movies all the time. You guys know my love for everything Jason Statham. And all of his movies.
And he's making fun of me with Fast and Furious. You know Jason Statham is in it, right?
Yeah, wait. Statham's making another movie. Oh, I can't remember what the other movie is now. But it's kind of like how Denzel's milking that movie. Statham's making another movie where he's...
Well, it's not Transporter.
Oh, I don't remember, but it's another. It's like it's not. It's just
the Hitman.
No. Sorry, it's no.
Oh, the Mechanic.
Is it the Mechanic? No. It's not. Sorry, I forgot. I saw the trailer for it. It's not. It's a Jason Statham movie, but it's basically the mechanic or driver underwater. He's called Mega, and it's basically him in a water station, like a submarine water station, where they find a megalodon, basically the big shark that like like the size of a bus.
Yeah.
So that's the whole premise of the movie.
Yeah, they did do a sequel to The Mechanic though, Ricky, and as bad as the first one was, the second one was so much worse. It was so much worse. I mean, the first one was it's not the worst movie he's ever done. The worst movie he's ever done was called Revolver.
Yeah.
Okay, so the plot of Revolver. I'm just gonna tell you this, guy, so you guys never ever watch it. It's basically a movie about the voice in your head. So basically, Jason Statham plays two different people, and you don't know really. They look exactly the same, and you don't know who's who throughout the whole movie. One of them is Jason Statham. The other one's the voice in his head.
That's
and it's just. I mean, it's the stupidest movie. It has Ray Liotta, who's.
Oh, that's not bad.
And
then, come on, Goodfellas, Ray Liotta.
I like.
He has some good movies, but he's also in some really trashy Jason Statham movies. There's a movie Jason Statham did, another one with Ray Liotta called it's called In the Name of the King, a Johnson Siege Tale. It is god awful. It is so bad. I've watched it like 3 times.
Apparently, that's a masochist.
Well, I mean, it's not even one of Jason Statham's like traditional movies. He plays like what the hell is the name of that? Reynolds.
Ryan
Burt Reynolds. No, Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds plays the king, and Jason Statham plays his son, but he doesn't know that he's his son. Wow. So he like grows up in like a farming village or whatever. He plants his rutabagas or whatever, and he has his wife, and then some guy's trying to take over for the king and assassinate the king. The guy who's trying to assassinate the king is played by Justin Timberlake. No shit.
What?
Yeah, it's hilarious. Anyways, the guy who's trying to assassinate the king is played by Jason Timberlake, but he's actually controlled by the guy who's played by Ray Liotta's character, who's like a wizard. Anyways, what's hilarious is that this thing has a 3.8 out of 10. I thought it would have been so much lower on IMDb. It should have been negative. It's a terrible, god awful, terrible movie.
Wow.
All right. Anyways, that is it for us this time. We won't keep going on Jason Statham. I swear to God, I will never appoint a Jason Statham movie for us to review. It's just something for you guys to make fun of me about for my stupid fanboy action movie. Terrible fan ism. Anyways, if you want to get in contact with us, you can do so. At MTWB is myself on Twitter. Vince is VWHUY. Ricky's Ricky_Williams1. You can email us at email@the3cast.com. You can follow us on Twitter at the3cast. You can like us on Facebook at the3cast. And we've been recording about once a month. Let's see. In 2018, we have now done 4 episodes, so about once a month. We're supposed to do it every other week, but we don't do that. We're all too busy. Anyways, I have no clue what's happening next time. Vince, it's your turn to pick. So if you'll fill in something and then email us when you know, that'd be nice. And we'll see you in May probably.
Yep. Take care, guys.